Buenas noches, and welcome back to the Masonic Roundtable, a weekly hangout of Masons from around the country that get together to talk about Masonic news and opinions in a friendly and social manner. The thoughts and opinions expressed here are solely the opinion of the participants and do not represent any Grand Lodge statements or positions. Make sure you keep your conversations open to the public and on the level. To interact with us, send questions or comments to our Twitter page at Mason Roundtable or on the Facebook event page. You can also use the question and answer app that you'll see on YouTube or Google Hangouts. My name is Juan Sepulveda. I will be your host tonight, along with these fine gentlemen, and we will go around for a little round of introduction. I am a member of Orange Blossom Lodge number 80 in Kissimmee, Florida, and I'll pass it along to Jason Richards.
Hey, good evening, everybody. Jason Richards here, Junior Warden of Acacia Lodge number 16 in good old Clifton, Virginia.
Next, we have John Ruark.
Good evening and cheers, everyone. My name is John Ruark, past master of the Patriot Lodge number 1957 in above average Fairfax, Virginia.
Ish.
Salud.
Salud.
Next, we have Brother Nick Johnson.
Hi, I'm Nick Johnson, past master of Corinthian Lodge number 67 in big time Farmington, Minnesota.
Boom.
Thank you, gentlemen. And last but not least, we have our dear brother José Jimenez. He's the worshipful master of the Research Lodge José G, Bloise, numero 113. I'm mixing my Spanish and English, but pardon me. Number 113 in Puerto Rico. Brother José, welcome to the Masonic Roundtable.
Thank you. Greetings.
Tonight we have a very exciting episode that's very near and dear to my heart. Of course, as you might see by just looking, for those of you that watch on YouTube, this face is Puerto Rican. And if you haven't heard me say it 100 times through the podcast, I was born and raised in Puerto Rico. But before we go to our main topic, let's go ahead and talk a little bit about some Masonic news, things that happened this week. The first news, Nick, would you like to talk about it? First, I'll give you an introduction. We came across a news article that talks that a Hindu community in Plymouth was given a donation for an effigy, a religious effigy, by an organization.
Sure. It was in Freemasonry today. It was let me see if I can pull that up. But suffice it to say, I think a particular provincial Grand Lodge, I believe it was Devonshire, has what's called a wake fund, and I'm not exactly sure what that fund entails. But they gave donations to the Hindu community of Plymouth for a Shiva effigy that's used in funeral rites and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
And it caused a little bit of controversy on the Reddit page, only because, what is the relationship of Freemasonry to religious communities in our own communities? So, it was an interesting discussion. Probably good for another episode.
Yeah. You were spot on what WAKE is. WAKE is a fund that was set up in memory of a former Devonshire provincial Grand Master, and it's supposed to deliver aid to local organizations. Now, I understand the controversy that might present because the organization that was chosen is of religious nature, and the contribution was for ceremonial purpose, and it wasn't just to give communities assistance or anything like that. So, for those of you who want to read more about the conversation that went on Reddit, our brother Nick is very involved in it. He's one of the moderators there. You just go to reddit.com/
/ Freemasonry.
Yep. And if you want to see what the actual effigy looks like, I can pull up a picture real quick.
Well, we had the screen shared earlier. It's not the actual effigy in the Freemasonry Today article, though.
No, it's a different one, and actually it is.
Oh, you got it.
I do. Yeah, it was. Let me see if I can scroll through this. Oh, where is it? Is it this one? Not this one. This one. There we go. It's that. That's what they gave donations to. It's used in. I'm not
Nice.
exactly sure funeral rites or anything like that. So yeah, it was an interesting article and an interesting discussion. Not really controversial as much as very interesting on comfort levels within our own community on how we interact with different faiths. So.
It's true. We talk about how charitable Freemasons are, but that charity also extends to acceptance of other religions, and so I think that's good to see Freemasons in a positive light in the religious communities, not just one of a particular faith.
Yeah, I wish I could have seen how the conversations went when they were considering giving that donation or designating it for that in specific. I wonder if they faced any kind of opposition or not.
Mm-hmm.
Who knows? Well, moving right along, the other news that I found, it was interesting. It's nothing more than novelty, mainly because the spin that they gave it as a clickbait, and correct me if I'm wrong, this is about Kaspersky. Many of you might know it's a very popular antivirus program. It's the top one that comes from Russia. But the actual article published by the Register in the UK, the headline said Kaspersky, Freemasons coded fake malware in the Bermuda Triangle. Listen, if they deserve an award just for how creatively deceiving that headline is. Just in summary, they were the Guardian had previously published. I mean, the Register. Another publication. Was it the Guardian? I can't remember.
It's a Reuters report.
Reuters had written an article saying that Kaspersky had actually created some sort of fake malware in a remote location just to throw off its competitors. And the only tie to Masonry is that in the comments, in the rebuttal that Kaspersky actually wrote towards Reuters, is that by citing an anonymous source, we could claim that we know anything, that we could know what what the Freemasons are up to, and this and that. That's the only mention of Freemasonry in the whole thing, and
that is such clickbait.
It's so lame. They just took it and ran. But
last time I checked, all the Freemasons were up to were pancake breakfasts and degree work.
That's
reading the minutes.
And very quick, so we can go to the next stage. I wanted to mention briefly the Short Talk Bulletins online audio library. This is Brother Smith from Novel Publishing. He put together a project in partnership with the Masonic Service Association of North America to actually take 100 years worth of Short Talk Bulletins and put them in audio. Sounds like a daunting project. I don't know about you, brothers, but 100 years worth of short papers, that's going to require a lot of manpower, don't you think?
Well, we talked about this a couple weeks ago, and I think what I said back then still holds true. It's basically the Whence Came You Masonic podcast.
Uh-oh.
RJ's not here.
RJ's not here to defend himself.
Oh, jeez. We still love you, RJ. But yeah, as you can see, this is a way to have some audio copies, some read out loud copies in high quality audio of some different Short Talk Bulletins. So it's one thing that is another resource. It's something you could play in Lodge or something to that effect.
Yeah. The interesting thing is that the platform that it is published through gives you an option to determine the value that you assign to this. So you could get it for free, listen to all the audio for free if you wanted to, but they suggest a donation. Just like when you go to museums in many states. I know in New York it's like that. You can go in for free if you wanted to, but there's a suggested cover charge. So the same goes here. They suggest that you pay $20 a year to get unlimited access to all these audios, but it's up to you. If you don't want to pay for anything, then you don't have to.
Yep.
Okay, now we'd like to go ahead to our section of Masonic research. Masonic Monday MMA. What is it? Masonic Monday question on Tuesday.
Hey, before we do that, real quick, can I interject? Just so you guys know, we've been plugging this for weeks.
Oh,
This
yeah.
weekend is the Masonic Restoration Foundation Symposium in Philadelphia. The lovely Mr. John Ruark and I will be in attendance. We'll be there from Saturday morning through the end of the symposium in Sunday. So come and see us. We got a table with a big old banner, and we will. We'd love to hang out with you. So come and see us.
Looking forward to it.
Okay, MMQOT.
All right, Brother Nick, would you like to guide us through that?
I would love to, Juan.
Thank you, sir.
Well, we had a wonderful amount of questions and answers. I should say answers because I already asked the question. But we had a lot of correct answers, and you guys did a good job. So I'll just read them out real quick. Justin Miller of Sacramento Lodge, number 24. Christopher Croto, Christopher Dorset, Christian Dubs, James Webb, Jared Chapman, Simon Dick, Luke Zale, Greg Bodine, I hope I got it right that time, Josh Bartz, Dave Woodruff, Joey Boyer, Arturo Sevilla, and Shane Cody, and Michael Laidlaw. You all answered the question correctly, which was Jean-Baptiste Willemars, who constituted the CBCS, or the Ordre de Chevalier Bienfaisant de la Cité Santé, and created the rectified Scottish Rite, Régime Écossais Rectifié. And the bonus question, the bonus of that was three kinds of alchemical Freemasons were those who think that the purpose of Freemasonry is to make the philosopher's stone, those who search for the panacea or universal cure, and those who search for the science of great work by which man would find the wisdom and practices of early Christianity. So, congratulations, guys, on an excellent job. All right. So, the Masonic Monday question is, and you're going to love this, guys, it came from one of our past guests, Jason Mitchell, who is currently serving as the most illustrious Grand Master of the Grand Council of Royal and Select Masters of Utah. And his question was, this famous Freemason was appointed the King's Master Mason and served as the Master of the Worshipful Company of Masons in 1633. In or around 1639, he was admitted into membership of the more exclusive Hidden Inner Association, or Exception, within that company, possibly making him the first free and accepted Mason. Who was this famous Freemason? Who was this famous Master Mason? When you have the answer, send it to MasonicMonday@gmail.com. Don't forget to include your lodge name, your lodge number if you have one, and the hashtag, thanks, Jason. Back to you, Juan.
What did I do?
You're great.
Sorry, I muted myself.
That's always a good thing to do, Juan. We appreciate it.
It's getting a little toasty in this studio, and I had to turn my air for a little bit. Okay, so now we move on to the main topic of the night. As I mentioned, near and dear to my heart, Freemasonry in Puerto Rico. And today we have the pleasure of having with us Brother José Jimenez. And I'll first begin by telling you a little bit about Brother José. And not only is he the worshipful master of the Lodge of Research in Puerto Rico, but we have a very nice special connection from a few years ago, when after I became a Mason and my brother and my father began having conversations with me regarding joining the craft, I reached out to Brother Jose, and I introduced myself, and I told them who I was and that I have family. I have two people in Puerto Rico who I consider to be some great men that should be a part of the craft. And he was very, very helpful in not just providing me information, but actually helping them in their search for light. So, Brother Jose, publicly, I would like to thank you now for helping me in that. That really means a lot to me.
The pleasure was mine.
Thank you. And now we would like to go ahead and start talking a little bit about the Freemasonry in Puerto Rico. And Brother Jose publishes a magazine. It's a compilation of research from the Masonic Research Society in Puerto Rico, and it's called Minerva's. And on one of the most recent editions of the magazine, they're celebrating Puerto Rico's 130-year anniversary of the La Gran Logia Soberana de Puerto Rico, or the Sovereign Grand Lodge of Puerto Rico. Brother Jose, could you tell us a little bit more about that?
Well, the story of the Grand Sovereign Lodge of Puerto Rico is like you said, already 130 years old. They became a Grand Lodge in 1885. Before that, they belonged to the Grand Lodge of Cuba, and before that, in Puerto Rico there were many lodges that don't belong to, or they don't belong to any orient. They were just by themselves, or they belong to somewhere of influenced by the French Freemasonry. Other ones were influenced from Venezuela. Others were influenced from Santo Domingo. Others from Cuba. It wasn't really a mess, but basically the main stakeholder here was Spain. But still, they were being persecuted by the Catholic Church and therefore by the Spanish government. So they were a clandestine organization. And still, when the Grand Lodge became active, they're still being persecuted. Masons died on jail here in Puerto Rico, and it was until the United States invasion of Puerto Rico, some say invasion, others say liberation, that the Freemasonry was free to thrive. And it's interesting when the division started in the south side of the island, in the Bay of Guanica, and they started spreading north. And as they started spreading north across the island, every town, every county they took out the mayor of that county, and they put the Freemason of the lodge of the area. Why?
Wow.
Because they need somebody they can trust. And usually all the military, starting with the president then, they were Freemasons. So all the way to San Juan, to the capital, they were leaving behind in the counties Freemasons as leaders. Not because they sympathize with Americans, just because they need somebody that were ethically and morally straight, even if they don't agree. And that's a very interesting part of the history here, that a Freemason, when you make a compromise, even if you don't agree, he will abide by his word, even instead of war. After
That's
that,
impressive.
yeah, that's a very nice story, and his history. And after that, well, the Freemason, like I told you, it thrives until 1950s. That's one of the subjects you were interested in. In Puerto Rico, there was they tried to make a coup to the government, this nationalist party, and it was synchronized with an attempt in the capital city, in Washington D.C. Albizus Campos, and he was trapped. But even the nationalist movement didn't win the attempt, there were a lot of lodges that were sympathetic. So there happened some problems between the Grand Lodge and those lodges, so they separated from the main Grand Lodge and make a new orient, Spuria. I don't know how you say it in English. Spuria. It means that
Spurious.
it's spurious, that it's not regular. And it was sad because the main purpose of that orient was just for independence. And you have to understand the story of in Latin America. Yeah, a lot of Freemasons, just like Washington in the north, Juarez in Mexico, Bolivar in South America. Freemasons were part of the independence of all those countries, but it was because those countries weren't democracies; they were monarchies. But now, in the 50s, we have a democracy. But those peoples, they want to go against the 95% of the island. They want to impose an independence, and that's not democracy. That's anarchy.
Yeah.
That
Before we go too deep into that separation, though, I want to get a little bit better feel for that initial spread of Masonry, because it used to be, like you said, it had different factions. It had some influence from different countries, but then it became more unified through the Grand Lodge that we know today, right?
yes, to this day, there's still some lodges that what they call here they call usos y costumbre.
Using
Uh,
customs.
yes, they still keep some of legacy from the French or from other. Even when we have a black book or the Constitution book that tell you how everything is done, you know that every lodge is a culture.
Yeah.
It's a little country by itself. And even the Grandmaster says something, some people in the lodges, they have their own way to doing things. When the Grandmaster visits, everybody is squared away. When he
Of
leaves,
course.
everybody comes back again to do the same things.
Of course.
And,
Now, do
and
you?
that's the rebels in the Masons, the rebel spirit.
Yeah, yeah. I mean it does make sense. We have a lot of that where there's things that we want to see in Masonry that we don't see today that they were part of Masonry before, and I can understand how these brothers wanted to hold on to those things and not let go. But my question regarding that, have you been to lodges where you see something that is definitely, it harkens back to that early influence in Masonry?
But it's dying out. But young people try to bring it back. Is the esoteric teachings, the things that 100 years ago we were hiding. Some Freemasons even went in rowboats to next to a little island next to Puerto Rico. One of them is very famous. Is the island of Cajamuerto, and where Aurora. This was this lodge is still functioning today. Aurora. They used to have their meetings there. They were they had to be hiding all the time, and the knowledge they were using, not just the right, but it was the inner teachings that today, when we are not persecuted anymore, but people have been fighting them. Why? Let's see. When people say that to become a Freemason, you have to be free, a free man, people think that, well, that means you're not a slave. It doesn't mean that. It means that you are a free thinker. Usually, free thinkers don't believe in dogma, and they really follow no religion. And one of the things that, because you can be a religious person without being in a religion, because religatio, the word where it comes from, is the ligament between you and God, and that's why Freemasonry teach you that you can reach God without needing a priest or needing a pope or needing a minister to get there, because you build your own temple. It puts you in charge of you. It gives you the responsibility. That's why we have been persecuted, because hey, that would not if everybody realized that to reach the Lord, you don't have to give nobody money. It's a lot of people who's gonna be mad at us because a lot of people depend on that money. But that's the real freedom. And yeah, we make a lot of enemies because of that. Because we want to, we free the minds. We raise the level of consciousness, and governments and religions who thrive in ignorance will hate us because we are their worst nightmare. Because one of our obligations is to combat ignorance, and they thrive on ignorance. They need ignorant people so they can dominate them and feed from them, and we fight them.
That's powerful stuff. I wanted to open the floor to some of the brothers if they have any questions based on what they've heard so far. If there's anything in particular you wanted to ask, Brother Jose.
Well, I've got a question, Brother Jose. I've heard that that Puerto Rican Masonry is very interesting because a lot of it is, of course, the Scottish rite of Masonry or the French origin of Masonry. Is there also York Rite Masonry in Puerto Rico, or is it predominantly Scottish?
Yeah, we have like 8 lodges, York lodges, and like 62 lodges that are Scottish. I have a friend of mine, he's Spaniard, and in Spain he was regular, he was York. No, he's York now, and he told me he had been in both rites. He told me that the difference is that, like the colors, York tends to be more cold or more administrative, and Scottish is red, it's more hot, it's more magical. It's more, yeah. It's an example, in the Grand Lodge in Puerto Rico, we have 2 big lodges. One is the York, and the other one is the Scottish. And you can see the difference. You just walk inside the room, and you see the Scottish one have a lot of symbols. I mean, it's a lot, even in the roof. And you go to the York one, it's almost empty. For example, if you go to a Scottish one, right, you see next to the to begin, we have the dorsals. That is the capitals on top of the wardens and the worshipful master. That by itself is a symbol. We have the whole CNI. We have the statues next to the worshipful master. We have Minervas. That's what I use in the magazine. Minerva is knowledge, wisdom. We have next to the senior warden, we have Hercules. It's strength. And we have next to the junior warden, we have Aphrodite. That is beautiful. It's beauty, but it's not really like physical beauty. It's harmony. And that remembers you when you remember when you're here. Everybody else all the time is saying "Nocete ipsum, nocete ipsum." But if you read the whole saying in the Temple of Delphi, you see that Nocete ipsum is a small part of a whole big paragraph. One is telling you that if you know the gods, but that what it means, the gods inside yourself is Minerva's, Hercules, Aphrodite, and it doesn't mean to the non-initiate. People say, "Oh, their gods are like this." No, is the God attributes inside you, the knowledge that you can get, the strength that you can get, and the harmony that you can get. Those are attributes inside you that you have to develop. And if you know those 3 attributes, you can develop them, you will know the universe. That's why the Scottish lodge is like it's open to the sky, the night sky, the stars. But it's the universe that is the macro and the micro, the universe outside and the universe inside yourself. And so, that's why the lodge is red, because it tends to symbolize your inner universe.
Oh, I like that.
So here's a hard question for you. Would you say Freemasonry is perhaps well, you talked a little bit about Freemasonry teaching the people in Puerto Rico that you don't need to, pay money to get salvation and that sort of thing, and you can find it within yourself. Would you say Freemasonry is more of a religion in Puerto Rico than it is perhaps elsewhere?
No, because it's like Buddhism. It's like, you know, if to be a religion, I have to tell you, dogma, do this and do that, and you will be saved. Freemasonry is, hey man, this is your tools. To be saved is your problem. You know?
Yes, absolutely.
But in religion, they tell me, you do this, you pay me this, and I will save you. And that's very irresponsible, because they don't even they can't even know if they're going to be saved themselves. You know, it's like I was telling you, this woman that came to my house. In my house, Jehovah's Witness, Mormons, they come and visit, and I greet them. I don't kick them out. I greet them, I talk with them. And this woman was telling me, because Jesus saved me. I said, hey, lady, Jesus saved no one. And she was like, what? What you said? I said, well, what I mean, lady, is Jesus was a master, right? He was a teacher. Yeah, yes. Well, he came here. He teach us how to save ourselves. He already graduated. He got a diploma. You know, you had to make your assignment, and you had to save yourself. That is a path. No one just by yourself, and that's why. So, and you see that in Freemasonry, is the path between columns. Is Freemasonry, the only thing that it does is give you the tools, but the rest is up to you. But the point is, it's a liberating formula, you want to call it like that, because it makes you responsible. Usually, people pay churches to take the responsibility away, so they can see better. In Freemasonry, no man, you have to face the music, and it makes you aware, and to a point, it gives you peace, because you know that it's not by chance, it's by work. That's the craft. You have to build this philosophical stone, you have to shape it, you have to better yourself, and that's the only way you can get up there. Whatever it is, it can be Shangri-La, who cares? You know, that's not the point. It's not the point. It's not about religion. It's about, this is universal.
And that definitely gives food for thought, for sure.
That's one of the reasons like I tell you, that's one of the reasons we've been persecuted. And I tell you right now, if the political climate in the planet change, and suddenly some churches have the power, we don't have to go that far. Look at Israel. If Israel take control of the world, they would cut our heads off like this, quick. If they clean their own people, because those people thrive on fear, and fear through ignorance. It's like I told somebody once, what's the difference between a Mason and a priest? I said, well, a Catholic priest, I grew up Catholic. I said, well, a Catholic priest will say to the daughter or a servant, say, well, if you want to go to heaven, grow up and be a good servant, like your mother. A Freemason will tell the same girl, well, you go up, study, and be a doctor. That's the difference between a Freemason and a priest. We believe in the maximization of the human capacity. Mm-hmm. We believe that you can to be all you can be. Hey, that's a cliche in the U.S. Army.
Yeah. Can you hear me now? Okay, good. Mike's working. So let's get off of something as controversial as religion. Let's move to politics.
All right, good.
Because I've heard that Freemasonry in Puerto Rico also has a high political influence to it.
Well, the only thing that that's the nationalist or the now mixed orient.
The clandestine group, right?
Yeah, to be part of that orient, you have to be pro-independence of Puerto Rico. In the regular Masonry, they don't care. We have independent people. We have pro-state. I'm Republic, and we all mixed up. My best friend's independence, and it shouldn't be an issue. And even when the Constitution said that we are not allowed to speak of religion or politics in church, some people like me agree that yeah, we should speak of religion, not in the sense of not in the sense
Dogma.
of dogma. Yeah, but hey, we have we come on, man. It's like I was telling these people, look at us when we open the church. I mean, when we open the lodge, you see the altar on top of a pentagram, surrounded by a circle with 3 candles, a holy book, and medals. Somebody light up the sacred fire, open the book, put the hands, and ask the great arch of the universe to manifest himself there. And that is not a religatory process. Come on, we look like some shaman, or we're calling for a high energy.
Right. Well, but politics specifically, though, I've heard that there's a very strong political movement that goes with that, and you're saying it's not true in the mainstream. It's really more of the irregular.
Yeah, and there are very few people now. They're close to disappear. There's no it's not even to subsist. They had to open the doors for women, because by males alone they weren't able to work.
And could we elaborate a little bit more, because some of the people might not know exactly how that rupture began. You alluded to it at the beginning, that the Grand Lodge became discontent with the fact that some lodges were refusing to have the American flag within the lodge. So they said it cannot be inside of the lodge, and they went against the Grand Lodge in that movement.
Well,
am I right?
Okay. To begin with, some lodges in Puerto Rico, inside the lodge, in the temple, they have both flags up there in Orient. Some of them, like mine, is in the lobby. I wish everybody had in the lobby, because let's be realistic. Let's be Masonic about this. Inside the temple, what you should have are Masonic symbols of unity. And when you have people that some are pro or against American flag, or some against independence, and you put symbols that make conflict, you are disrupting the harmony. Well, put them outside in the lobby. It's okay. But what happened what happened in the 50s was that they don't want it, not even in the lobby. They were throwing them away, and the Grand Master came and said, "Well, you have to have it in the building. It's in the Constitution, and you have to have it there." And they refused a direct order from the Grand Master. The Grand Master took the charter card away, and they just, they went away like 8 lodges, I think they were 8 or 12, and they formed this new order. They were just people who are searching for the independence. And it's sad, because that's not the mission of a lodge. The mission of a lodge is to make good men better. Is the inner working. Some people said that we are here to help the community. Yes, we help the community. We make a better community, but as an effect, as a second an effect, because we help ourselves. We perfect ourselves. Therefore, the society benefits from us as an outside effect. But we come here to work the inner work. Work the inner temple.
I agree with
It's
that.
like people say, you want to do charity. You don't have to be a Mason to do charity.
Mm-hmm.
You can do that in another, the Lions or Rotaries International. You can do that.
Right. Hey, Nick, I want to make sure you get a chance to jump in, too.
Sure. Actually, I had a couple of different questions. I'm going to be going off in 2 different branches, but I was looking on Phoenix Masonry, and really the only connections I have to Puerto Rican Freemasonry is one, and then this one article and that's only like tangentially of a tangent. So, but the other one was an article about Masonic weddings, and it seemed as if in Puerto Rico that there's this holistic idea within Freemasonry that the family is somewhat adopted into Masonic fraternity. At least that's what it looked like from these pictures and kind of the description of the ceremony. Could you is that a fair description, or is that just kind of a one-off type deal? Masonic weddings and other family events and things.
Some people, okay, I can get in trouble for this. There is some people here that think people who got in Freemason and they got in without being free. Let's say, for example, if I am Catholic and I want to be a Freemason, but when I cross that door, I'm still thinking like a Catholic inside, not as a Freeman, as a free thinker, as a philosopher. I would try to make Freemason adapt to my beliefs, my Catholic beliefs. I would try to Christianize something that is not Christian. Freemasonry is not Christian. It's deistic. It's not Christian. And this, I remember I had this worshipful master that he was in his free time. He was a minister, and I was giving a course on the circuit and about the altar, and he said, "No, Freemasonry is Christian. That's why we have the Bible." I said, "Well, sir, worshipful master, let me tell you what. It is the Bible, but the 3 verses are from the Torah. They're not even Christian. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, if you go to India, they will have the Bhagavad Gita. If you go to Turkey, they will have the Quran. Mm-hmm. It's not Christian."
So do you have some of those ceremonies?
Those what?
I know Nick specifically asked about the Masonic weddings.
Masonic baptism.
Yeah.
Okay, all you're talking about is what they call, I think that's what you saw in the pictures.
Yeah.
They call tenida blanca, white meeting, something like that. What they do is they have a proceeding. We don't do a couple of things where people can go inside, and they usually do it for installations. What we do is in another ceremony, in a regular ceremony, we do the things that can be done with people around, and then we make that white ceremony where people can go inside. I don't care too much about it. I don't believe Freemasonry is. It's like they need approval from the community. I don't need approval to do my job. And the other thing is they have the Easter Star. I was the Easter Star. I was Venerable Patrono. I don't know how it is in English.
Venerable Patron.
And,
worthy patron.
Worthy patron.
I believe I learned something. Mixed lodges, women and men. It's between men themselves. We have problem when you put in the mixed woman.
Jose, you want to jump from controversy to controversy?
I'd like to remind everybody for this show that the thoughts and opinions expressed here are solely the opinions of the participants.
It's true. I'm talking from
the individual participants.
Yes, the singular participant.
One of the things I learned is I wrote before they said, if it isn't broken, don't fix it.
Yeah, I have 600 comments in a post that are in that same direction. I wanted to clarify something for the listeners and the viewers. What he refers to as the tenida blanca, or the white meeting. It's what we call an open meeting, where you do some
good.
sort.
Thank you.
Yeah, so you just do any kind of ceremony that it's open to the public, but it has Masonic flavor sprinkled over it.
I want to clarify. I believe, and some of the Minerva's magazines, you see some articles. I believe in female Masonry. I believe because, come on, you have to see the historical part of it. I believe the sex is not part of the being, the soul. So the soul doesn't have sex. But I believe if the women want to do their biting, actually, the Great Lodge of England, it recognizes the female Masonic work to the point that the Great Lodge of England, they share the same building. You know, they accept that, but they don't mix. So you do your thing, I do my thing. You know, girls with girls, boys with boys. I believe that.
So
Yeah, we definitely have to talk about that some other time. 'Cause
you did talk about some of the appendant bodies like Eastern Star. How active, given how small Puerto Rico is, how active are the other things like Shrine, like Scottish Rite, like York Rite, etc.?
Shriners is active. We have Shriners in Puerto Rico. They, like 5 years ago, they used to belong to Panama, and now they have their own chapter here in the island. And they do some things some activities in the veteran center, veteran hospital for children. They do good work, and yeah. And Easter Star, they have their own stuff. I have to be careful here, man.
yeah, be
Do
careful.
they have the jesters in Puerto Rico? You don't need to answer that question.
But actually, that's an interesting question, though. Discussing appendant bodies is how influential is American-style Freemasonry? Because the groups that we mentioned, Shrine, Star, the York Rite itself, how influential has the American Masonic experience affected Puerto Rico, if at all?
Well, after 1898, naturally the American Freemasonry was a very big influence, because remember, we came from the Spaniards were following us and searching us and killing us, and you came as saviors for Masonry. But to a point, I see that we copy the American Freemasonry too much. Because if you see the Latin American Freemasonry still more, it still have the rituals, the old rituals, and the primitive rituals, and it's very esoteric. For example, one of the things that I've been trying to revive in Puerto Rico, a lot of lodges are starting to use of candles. When lodges put a bulb, Jesus, man, a bulb, you really don't know what you're doing. If you go to a Catholic church, and you know that they have all the time a candle light up, right, in the Orient, the Catholic church. If a priest comes and changes the candle for a bulb, the bishop is going to kick his butt on the way out of the church. And it's sad that you can ask a Catholic priest why Freemasons use candles, but you ask at a 33rd degree, and he will not be able to tell you why. What's missing? That knowledge is missing. So you go to South America, and you see almost all the lodges, they use candles, still use candles. But remember, it's because while in the United States, the Protestant movement, the Christian Protestant, they don't mess with the Freemasons, they respect it. In South America, and still today, Catholic Church still, they can persecute them openly. But the other days I talked with this guy in Argentina. He was a professor. They find out he was a Freemason. They kick him out of college after teaching there for 15 years. And a couple of years back, it happened to another one in Peru. That's why when they're being, what happened when you're being persecuted, people get together and get stronger.
Let's let Nick get one more question, and then we'll go to social media.
Well, it's actually kind of interesting. I had a guest in my cryptic council from El Salvador. He's in New York right there. And what's actually kind of interesting is actually the fastest growing Masonic appendant body Masonic organization is actually the York Rite in most of Latin and South America. And I'm wondering if that's more influence of American-style Freemasonry throughout Latin America, mainly because it's the new kid on the block. But it's just an observation that
you have to
made.
You have to see it from the point of view, the military point of view. When the U.S. military go to places, it's the job right they take there. And in El Salvador, Costa Rica, all Central America, we have countries and we have lodges. The U.S. Army in Panama, and that's the right that nobody mess with. Mess with the eagle, and that's what it's growing. But yeah, they have both rights, right? They have Misraim, Memphis. In Ecuador, they have Memphis, Santo Domingo. They have sanctuaries, Memphis, Misraim, regular. A lot of people, when you say Memphis, people think in irregular, but no. Memphis used to be regular first. What happened when the Grand Lodge of England, the cut relations with France, then those lodges that were Memphis became to be irregular. But before that, they were regular.
Yeah, we're definitely calling you when we talk about Mithrin and when we talk about the Catholic Church influence in Freemasonry. You're in. But we gotta check. Jason, if you can check on social media, see what the brothers are saying.
It would be a good idea to talk about Catholic Church and our Catholic Masons. It's communicated. Can they have communion?
Yeah, we definitely gotta check that out.
Yeah.
All right.
All right, Jason.
Okay,
Jason.
yeah. So, getting on to social media, let's talk about community service in Puerto Rico. We had a brother Joseph Jackson ask about leadership within the lodge combined with community service and community outreach. Do Masonic lodges in Puerto Rico do a lot of things out in the community?
Oh yeah, I tell you, like more than 10 lodges, they have scholarships. They do community work. I remember when I used to be worshipful master of Caballeros de la Verdad, that is Knights of Truth, number 37. We have a scholarship for the School of Music, and every year we give to the poor, to the best student of the government school academy. We give them instruments, and we buy them instruments. Catholic Church, Freemasonry have been very active in charity all around the island. But we don't make a lot of noise. Is that what you mean? A lot of people don't know. Sometimes the lodge from that town give to that school, and that's it. But you see nothing in the newspaper. Because we can't. We are by the Constitution. We can announce nothing of that. It's prohibited.
Good. What else,
It's
Jason?
practically secret. It's secret donations and everything. What happens?
So, Brother Brad Parsons mentioned something about the Masonic symbol on your lower third bar, Brother Jose. He had never seen anything like that with the hexagon with the star and the top half of a skull. Is that a specific symbol in Puerto Rican Freemasonry, or is that just something interesting?
Yeah, the only thing I go to you, try to get a book from Magister, Aldo Lavagnini. He was an Italian philosopher and Freemason. He finally ended up in Mexico. He was when Mussolini was killing the Freemasons in World War II, so he moved to Mexico. And remember this name, Aldo Lavagnini. His name, Masonic name, it was Magister. And you see that sign and what it means. It's a very old sign. I can tell you now because we are in open, but it's it's a very important and very old symbol.
We'll talk about it backstage.
Yeah, we can talk about backstage.
All right. Anything else, Jason?
No, I think that's actually about it. I think Eric Jimenez, one of our good friends and brothers, was kind of wondering what if lodges in Latin America and lodges in Puerto Rico are perhaps a little bit more interested in esoteric philosophy than lodges in America. I think we've pretty well answered that with absolutely yes. Especially if you have the Minerva and Aphrodite and symbols for wisdom, all throughout the lodges that you don't have here.
Yeah. Well, I welcome people to check the magazine. It's in Spanish, but it's very basic Spanish. You can get it. And you can go to Facebook. You type Revista Minervas, and you go to the site, and you can download it. It's in HTML5, so you can open it in your iPhone, your tablet, and maybe some of you guys help me. We can make an English version.
Yeah. Well, we have a lot of Spanish-speaking brothers as well, so we'll make sure that we share a link to the magazine in the show notes.
It's a great idea.
Now let's begin wrapping up, saying our goodbyes and last-minute opinions and shameless plugs, as we say. So let's begin with Brother Nick.
Sure. This was a fascinating discussion. It's really interesting to see the effects of essentially Spanish, European, continental style Freemasonry and American influences and how they interact and how they deal and how. So this was fascinating. This was pretty much one of in my opinion top 5, top 2 episodes. So thank you very much, Brother Jose. This was fantastic. You can check out my blog, millennialfreemason.com, and there will be content. I've got a couple of guest writers coming up. Great job, Juan.
Thank you, sir. All right, Jason.
Hey, thanks everybody for watching the show. Worshipful Brother Jimenez, thank you so much for coming on. It was a fantastic, very enlightening show. It's just a whole different culture, and to me, Freemasonry being a worldwide organization, it's just so incredibly fantastic to go and take a look at how Masonry is expressed in different cultures, and it's absolutely fantastic. And I think we can easily say that 79 is the new 42. I just had a great time. For those of you listening who are going to be in Philly this weekend, like Brother Scott Sherman, John and I can't wait to hang out with you. It's going to be a blast. And bring a Masonic passport or two, because I'll have my embosser, and we'll have some fun.
Mm-hmm. Good.
Very nice. John.
Yes, and Nathan St. Pierre and Josh and A, we'll see you there at the Masonic Restoration Foundation as well. Brother Jimenez, thank you very much for joining us. Learned a lot. One thing that in my research and also the genesis of the show was a brother I met at the Patriot Lodge, actually, who was a student at George Mason, but was living in Puerto Rico and came up to study during the semester. Got initiated, found the show, and wanted to join, and was surprised to find that we did not operate on the entered apprentice degree. That he was ready to go, was all dressed up to go to lodge, and yet we meet on the 3rd degree in Virginia. So he was a little deflated, but as we started talking through some of the degrees, he quickly learned the differences, and he says, "Hey, wait a minute, are you guys Scottish or are you guys York Rite?" And I said, "Well, in Virginia, we consider the York Rite concordant body." And so I learned a lot from him. His name is Brother Nelson Albino, and he let me know that really has a strong Scottish influence. So you will definitely see more of the symbolic lodge degrees. And we talked a little bit about it, but I don't think we really hit the nail on the head, where the first 3 degrees in Masonry in Puerto Rico are different than probably most of the continental U.S. States. We have that mutual recognition, but you will get a completely different degree system there, in the sense of the ritual. So I think that's fascinating, and I like it in the fact that it is more esoteric. It does pull back to some of the Scottish influences. So definitely, if you get a chance to visit Lodge in Puerto Rico, please do. That's all I got. And see you guys in Philly this weekend.
I wish I could join you, but thank you very much, John. And now, Brother Jose, if you want to give some final thoughts, and where can brothers learn more about you, or where they can find more about the magazine?
Oh, first I want to thank all the guys from the windingstairs.com for inviting me to this nice talk, and it was a nice experience. And I was very glad to share with you about our Masonic heritage in Puerto Rico. And believe me, it's not that different. And we got to see, everybody follow the old landmarks. They are all universal, otherwise you will not be regular. But those is in the details. What is left off, what is forgotten, what the priest tell the Mason, don't do that because that's bad, and we only can do it. And we told them no. We are Freemasons. We are masters of our destiny. We can do it too. They don't like that. When you visit Puerto Rico, please give me a call. I'll pick you up in the airport, okay?
Very nice. You're going to get a whole bunch of phone calls now. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for joining us. It was a fascinating discussion. We've had many discussions over the nights talking about a few more things. There are a couple things that we just can't talk about on air. And, if you want to talk about these things and you're not Mason yet, hit us up for information. And when we meet, you'll find out more. I really appreciate your time. The brothers, thank you for your questions and all the participation on the social media. Brothers, don't forget, don't just listen passively. Make sure that what you're listening to here, you're sharing it with brothers throughout all the social media networks, that you invite brothers to join the show live if they can, if not to listen or view it. But also, if you want to incorporate some Masonic education or have something very interesting in your lodge, bring a couple of brothers together and share some of the programs that we share with you. It can definitely start some good conversations, expand your appreciation for different cultures, different ways of practicing Masonry, and most importantly, different ways of applying Masonry into your own personal life. You can hear more about what I do by going to thewindingstairs.com, and I have an upcoming episode coming right up, so just make sure that you go to thewindingstairs.com and sign up. And one quick shout out to all the brothers who are helping on the Winding Stairs Freemasonry group. I think that tonight we surpassed 4,000 brothers who are members of the group, but it would not be possible if it wasn't for great brothers that helped me administer the page. So if you want some good Masonic conversation, go on Facebook and search for the Winding Stairs Freemasonry group. Brothers, with that, gracias por escucharnos, and until the next time we speak, keep searching for more light. Thank you, brothers.